Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. I'm doing a series of spotlights on remarkable advisors from across the country. And joining me on this segment from New Jersey is Peter Bombara. He's the founder of PCB Financial Advisory Group. Peter, welcome to the program.
Great to be here, Mark. Thank you for having me.
Peter, tell me a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are the types of folks that you specialize in helping?
Absolutely. So we're an independent firm here in the New Jersey area, and we focus on individuals as well as family members to guide them to and through retirement. So what that means is if you're anywhere from 5 to 10 years before you retire, already in retirement, those are the kind of families that we tend to work with.
Gotcha. Now, I imagine that group have specific needs. What are the biggest concerns or questions on their minds when they come to see you?
Great. So there's a number of different concerns. One is actually income planning. And so it really doesn't matter how much money you have or not. Income planning is everything. So remember those days when you're receiving a paycheck every single month. Well, now you've saved this nice nest egg, and how do you create income to last pretty much for the rest of your life? So income planning is extremely important, making sure you input tax efficiency, and don't forget about legacy and healthcare planning as well.
Now, what about this recent pandemic? Has it created any changes or shifts in either how you operate, how you plan, or just in the minds of your clients?
Absolutely. Believe it or not, those who came to us a year ago or 2 years ago and says, Peter, I have a 5-year plan. I want to retire within 5 years. Mark, it's not a 5-year plan. Now it's more like a 6-month plan because they either don't want to go back to work, right? And two, they're saying, wait a minute, I'm too comfortable with this lifestyle and staying home and working from home. So I want to be able to see how I can retire today. So there's a lot of changes happening in the environment, or whether it's not going back to work or just being way too comfortable. But most importantly, Mark, you really have to understand how you're invested in today's environment because it's very, very different.
So you're speaking of that, the great resignation, they call that. So everybody is getting comfortable. They're like saying, hey, early retirement perhaps. So when that happens, Peter, what are the big pillars that you look for in their plan and in what they're doing to help them, retire early perhaps? What are you looking for?
So we're looking for a number of things. One, can you retire? And that's based upon your age, based upon what the goal is for taking Social Security income, because everybody is different. There's over 80 different ways to choose this, and we have to make sure you choose the right way. The assets that you have saved, can we retire off of those assets, right? What are you relying on? What are you not relying on? How much debt do you currently still have? So there's a number of different things that we do, what's called a modern money roadmap, and we create this roadmap to make sure you're efficient enough to get you to and through retirement.
Great insight. So Peter, when you start working with folks, have you ever spotted any huge, glaring mistakes that are common among a lot of people, or any pitfalls that you see people commonly fall into that you could warn folks about?
Yeah, for one, you have to understand what's called the danger zone. So the danger zone is when you're a couple of years before you're retired, it's very important to make sure how you're invested, because to believe it or not, and I'm not looking to be a doomsdays here in regards to talking negative on the stock market or the environment, but in order to make sure you're properly set up, it's very important to understand what's called risk in your portfolio. When you're very close to retirement, it's not really worth it. So you have to take a step back here, making sure you understand how much risk is truly in your portfolio. So you're not getting to the deadline where we're in an environment like today, and we have some simple news happening, and we happen to have some major cases coming out in regards to the new variants that can interrupt or even set back your goals. So it's very important to understand your risk in your portfolio.
Right on. Peter, what inspired you to get into financial services and help folks get their financial houses in order? How did you get started?
Believe it or not, I got started over 20 years ago. And quick story is I saw my family going through a very hard time helping my grandparents. And at that time, my grandparents I don't want to say rely, but my grandparents kind of relied on my mom because she had a background of being a nurse. When my grandparents were really sick, my mom was there for them. And my mom is the type of person to do anything and everything for everybody. So when she was there helping them out, long story short, years down the line, we asked mom, why did you have to do this? And it really came down to not having a plan in place. So that put more of a goal set mind in my mind to make sure, hey, what do I have to do to help families around me or individuals around me to make sure they didn't go through the same thing as my mom did?
Wow, that's great, eye opening, and I'm glad that you learned your passion from that experience.
Sure.
So, Peter, before I ask you my last question, for folks listening now that know they need to get their financial houses in order, but maybe they're not quite sure where to start, what should they look for? What's important when considering an advisor?
It's actually, we have a book that talks about a number of different things, but it's very important to make sure you are asking the right questions. And I cannot nail this on the nail. I hammer this on the nail too many times here, but it's so important to understand who you choose is a good fit for you, because there's no such thing as a good fit for everybody. Making sure you're asking the right questions when looking for a financial advisor. And most importantly, making sure you know what that advisor focuses on or specializes on, and making sure it complements what you're trying to figure out.
Terrific. And for folks listening now that would like to speak with you, Peter, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure. You can check us on the website, pcbfinancial.com, or simply give us a call at 732-634-3620.
Terrific. Peter, you've been great. I really appreciate you taking the time and sharing with my audience today, and I wish you continued success for you and for all of your clients.
Thank you, Mark. It was great being here. Appreciate it.
That was Peter Bombara. He's the founder of PCB Financial Advisory Group out of New Jersey, and this segment has been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published to educate consumers, grow their practices, and to leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.